Good evening. Welcome to New Horizons. If you do have a mobile phone, if you'd like to put it on silent, please, thank you. Massive welcome to Stephen Mera of Phenomena Mag. He returns with UFOs Through the Ages. Steve investigates occurrences such as poltergeist activity, ghosts, disappearances and the weird. Tonight he looks back through the ages, 3,500 years, and takes an evidential glance at some of the eyewitness accounts of strange, unexplained things in the sky. Some of the eyewitnesses include some well-known historical characters, and finally bringing us up to date with the links to our governments and the military. Please welcome Steve Mera.
Oh, sounds okay, doesn't it? Okay, let me just get this going. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about UFOs and how they've been perceived through the ages, long way back, to current, and probably from beyond that actually as well, where we're going into the future. I'll mention very briefly that MAPIT was formed in 1974. It's been investigating, it's initially started investigating UFO phenomena, hence its name was Manchester's Aerial Phenomena of Investigation Team at that time. If you look now on the website, you'll find that we cover all sorts of strange things, investigations into anything which is what you might consider profound or unusual. MAPIT is probably only the one establishment in the UK that actually deal and investigate for clients such as officialdoms, businesses, the CID, police, Ministry of Defence, so on and so forth. Believe it or not, guys, they do contact us in regarding paranormal disturbances. We're linked through for the Public Relations Office, so we do what you might refer to as confidential work for them as our clients, and we're trying to assess the situations and trying to assist them. So we've been doing that only for about 20 years, even though MAPIT was formed in 1974. Just very briefly, one mention about the magazine. Phenomena magazine is the most distributed magazine of its kind in the world. It goes out to numerous different countries. I believe I was told yesterday it's doing very well in Russia. Not that I know, but I've been told that. But it's simply because it's free. It's a free monthly download. You can get it straight from phenomenamagazine.co.uk. It's available every month. You'll find details of all events that happen or are taking place in the country. The magazine covers everything, from anything that you might refer to as ufological, paranormal, supernatural, earth mysteries, crop circles, strange and profound, 14 events. Anything that you might consider a bit odd, Phenomena's the place. We're on to our 65th issue. Number 65 will be launched tomorrow. And all the back issues are also available to download for free. So it's a good idea grabbing them when you can. We have a new page that's been added, and that's going to be covering UFO magazines. All those old production magazines, out of production, out of circulation magazines that used to be people used to be very fond of over the years. We're going to be PDFing them up and putting them on the website for free as well. And there's also a news clipping service there if anybody wants to do investigation and research. We have news clippings from the 1800s right through to current. Also, we have the largest event in the country taking place this year on October the 30th through to November the 2nd. That's a 4-day event. It's taking place in Stirling in Scotland. It's known as the Scottish Paranormal Festival. We have the two Albert Halls, two huge big halls. We have events going on. We have ghost tours, ghost walks. We have vigils, investigations. The people interested in the UFO side of things. We have sky watchers. We have lecturers coming around from all over the world, biggest names in the subjects. We have things for the kids. We're having a film festival, paranormal film festival. There's a film festival competition. There's all sorts of things. The whole event is pretty much cost about £160,000 to put together. We couldn't have done it without the help through our sponsors. One is Peter Broughton, who is the producer and director of Rob Roy, the film, and a number of other movies, and our good friend Dan Aykroyd, who joined the team, and he's also assisted with the event. And Dan Aykroyd owns his own vodka company, so he's actually dropped 4 crates of vodka off as well, which is quite good.
He's entering the spirit of things.
He's entering the spirit of things, yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very large event. 4 days is a long time, but if it is successful, and we believe it may be, then we're looking to do one on a yearly basis and move it around the country, so, because Scotland is a little bit far, isn't it, guys? But nevertheless, though, if you want to find out further details about that, just go on to paranormalscotland.com. You'll find the full brochure on there, and when I say it's like a brochure, of the event, it's like a TV Times. It's quite a big book, but you can download that for free from the PDF format, so you can see who's talking and what events are taking place. Okay, very briefly, we kind of get into the training and education regarding IFOs, that's identified flying objects. We try and teach people what the differences are, the 4 sections of IFOs, be it environmental, meteorological, astronomical or technological. If it doesn't fall into one of those 4, then it's something unusual. We investigate all types of UFO encounters. We also conduct photographic and video analysis, and we have quite a number of analysts on board who assist us, one of which is Bruce Maccabee, one of the world's leading experts. Environmental analysis and data collection is another thing, and that is really for environmental issues most of the time. Traumatic and profound human experiences linked in with UFO phenomena. That's also reported, not so often, but they do get reported on occasion, so we do deal with those type of matters as well. The British Investigators Training Course is the most popular course of its kind. It teaches people how to investigate from basic right through to advanced and professional methodology, scientific methodology of investigating the UFO phenomena, the paranormal, all sorts of different things. That's just one of the clips from the advanced section on ufology. So you can actually see how in depth we do actually go into this field. Okay, so let's get into the visual concepts, such as, drawings, paintings, tapestries, the symbolism of UFOs. These petroglyphs, which were created thousands of years ago in America Southwest. Now, according to the Indian folklore, there was 2 objects that they claimed to have seen one night, and this is in the region of the Death Valley. They claimed an object came down, and it looked like it was kind of in difficulty, this is how they described it, and it seemed to come down and land. A second object appeared in the sky, seemed to come down a bit more of a control landing, land next to this other object, and then there was a couple of milling figures, as if like it had broke down, and they called the AA in a sense of speaking. They had some type of technical issue by all accounts, this is according to the documentation, and then they managed to lift off and flew off out of sight. They commemorated the event in drawing and placed it on walls and passed this information on down lineage. So this is how we get the stories about these events. Another interesting one is this artist's impression. It's from the island of Jutsu, not too far from Japan, discovered in 1957. It's hundreds of years old. But what's really interesting is that these guys, which seem to be in these unusual objects, some people will even suggest that looks like a gun. They were talking hundreds and hundreds of years ago here. So as to what they were actually trying to depict there, it's obviously a hunting party, but as to what those are these some type of blowpipes, or are they, is it a gun? What type of objects are them? It's a bit of a mystery. Other incidents, such as in Tasmania, both estimated these petroglyphs 29,000 years ago. And they claim to depict a number of disc-shaped objects and these unusual stick-like figures. Now, people will always look into this and say, well, did they mean something else? Were they trying to explain something, that it just looks like, to us, it's a UFO, or looks like it's something unusual. However, if you actually go through take the whole picture in, you'll find that these references are worldwide and spread through thousands and thousands of years and thousands of cultures. This is Peru. This was taken from 12 to 14,000 years ago. These carvings, again, thought to be, what we refer to as rock art, are thought to be some type of extraterrestrial visitation. And you'll find a lot of these old references to alleged alien beings being shown with these type of halos, which is very interesting, isn't it? Because when we start getting into sort of the 15th and 16th and 1700s, we start to see depiction in tapestries and drawings and paintings of religious connotation in regarding these halos. 10,000 BC from Italy, which is the top one, and again, is it a halo or is it some type of helmet they're depicting? This one here, which is also a very interesting one, 6,000 BC, discovered in the Sahara Desert in North Africa. And again, an unusual figure, and it looks like maybe a disc of some sort. There's also, from 7,000 years ago, a petroglyph discovered in Mexico, which was discovered in 1966. Now, initially, people thought, oh, maybe they're depicting the sun, but apparently not. There seems to be some type of object giving off light. Is it the moon that they're representing? And again, these unusual figures from Utah, 5,500 BC. You'll find a lot of these images regarding with these beings with halo around them, and they come from all over the world, some of them around about the same time. And we have to take into consideration, this should have been at a time when they didn't realise the Earth was even round. It was only not too long ago that we discovered the Earth was round. So it's not that long ago. In fact, there is actually still a flat Earth society, I believe. Some guys need to tell them that it's actually round. And you do get these images of these halos. So did they communicate somehow with each other right round the world around about the same time? And if so, how did they traverse the world to let that knowledge be spread? Interesting point. These are discovered in Australia. It was discovered in 1837, 38 and 39. The Wangina, they are called. And they're created by the Aborigines, and they're around about 5,000 years old. And they actually tell a story of how the gods descended from the sky. They call them the Wangian. And this is how they depicted them in drawings and even cave paintings. Quite fun. This one's quite an interesting one with those big dark eyes and bulbous type heads. As time goes on, we seem to get a bit better with art. And this is the baptism of Christ. It's in the museum in Cambridge, England. If anybody's been to Cambridge, it's there. It's up on the wall. You can see it. It's fantastic. It was painted in 1710. And what's really interesting is that it depicts this baptism of Christ by John the Baptist. I don't know if you can see that very well, but up there at the top there's a disc, and it's shining light. It's shining beams of light down on to Jesus. And what's also interesting is that these light sources don't seem to get bigger as they go further away. They're like pencil beam lasers coming down. The only time we've heard things like this, we heard it in the Rendlesham Forest incident, where objects were seen in the sky throughout Rendlesham in December of 1980, and the military reported them firing beams of light down to the ground, like a pencil beam. They didn't go bigger like a torch. Pencil beam lights. Very interesting depiction from 1710. The one underneath is known as the Crucifixion, and it's painted in 1350. And it depicts Christ being crucified, and these two objects in the sky either side. This is a blow-up of those two objects. You can see that there's actually figures in them, and on even closer inspection, they've actually got some type of control mechanism in their hands. What are they trying to depict? This is 1350. Should they even be thinking about controlled flying objects at that time? And yet, there it is, depicted in a painting from 1350. One of the most famous, and everybody probably know this one if you look around the internet, is the Madonna. She was painted in the 15th century, and it's probably the most significant painting which depicts the UFO phenomena at an early stage. You can see this object up here in the sky. When you look closer, this is the halo, again, halo around religious connotation. But not only have we got this shining, and it does look like it's, you know, there's no mistake in this one. It does look like it's an unidentified flying object, which is, he's even gone to the point where the painter is trying to tell you it's lit up. There's lights coming from this object in the sky. And he even seals that with a guy on the side of this cliff looking up at this object. Even the dog is looking up at this object with its mouth open as if barking. He couldn't have done anything better than wrote on there, UFO in the sky. Could he? He sealed that one for us. That's for the 15th century. So you'll start to find there's a lot of religious connotation linked in with the UFO phenomenon as we go through the years. Another famous one was, this one was painted in 1486 and hangs in the National Gallery in London. This is another one that I've seen. It's actually a huge paint. It's a huge one. And when you actually look at that in detail, there's so much symbolism in this particular painting. Lots and lots of symbolism. But I'm not going to go into the symbolism. We could spend hours in that one. But I want to mention about the object in the sky. And just like the earlier painting we've seen, it's firing this pencil beam light down onto, this is supposed to be Mary, onto her head, her forehead. A pencil beam light coming out of the UFO and hitting Mary on the forehead. Again, a lot of mystery regarding these things, but the same type of thing. UFO, religious connotation, pencil beam lights, and of course this was painted in 1486. This is an unusual one. The picture at the top was painted in the 1600s. Nobody has ever really knew what that was painting of, until we kind of looked at Sputnik, which was the first satellite to pass around the Earth. What's really, really interesting is that it's surprisingly similar to Sputnik. So you shouldn't have had any knowledge of any of this. Even to the point where there's this little nodule there, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a nodule on the side, exactly the same nodule on the side as it is there. Is it somehow, did they somehow have knowledge of future events? Well, you know, I mean, there have been many people that have come forward regarding the UFO subject around the world, and when they claim to be contactees or even abductees, they often report being shown or told of events in the future. Could it have been something like that that's happened and knowledge has been passed on? Or is it just that it's just a strange, weird coincidence? If it is, what is it? It certainly looks something mechanical, bit of a mystery, painted in the 1600s. This one fascinates me. This is a painting of Moses, and he's got the tablets in his hand. In the sky behind him are 4 fiery objects, and it's as if like he's on the top of this cliff with the tablet in hand, looking up at these objects, and they're just sat there in the sky. We don't know what they mean, what they are. Nevertheless, though, probably the most significant thing there noticed is that Moses has horns. Why would Moses have horns? Surely nobody's ever had horns. Well, that's not exactly true. In the 1880s, in Pennsylvania, I think it was 7 bodies were discovered. And what was really interesting is that when they dug them up, they were all just over 7 foot tall. They were all buried together, and they all had horns. This is a real, it's not a replication or anything, this is a real skull. This is one of the skulls from that find. And it was so profound, the scientific establishments around the world, that they tried to find some type of explanation why we should find these 7'2" giants, in the sense of speaking, with horns, buried all together in the 1880s. I mean, they were originally, I think they date back to 1200 AD, so they are extremely old. The scientists got together and basically came up with one conclusion, that it was some type of genetic error